Okay, folks, Rich Vernadeau here this morning talking about my favorite comic books that I owned as a child. Whereas, like most people, the majority of my comics were superhero comics, and most of them were Marvel and DC. I want to acknowledge I also owned some Gold Key and a few other titles. I had things like Ghost Stories, which was a Gold Key title. I had Magnus the Robot Fighter. Those are not pictured here because I can't specifically remember the exact covers of those which I owned. And in this video, I'm striving to only present covers of comics that I actually remember owning. Alright, starting off with Fantastic Four #1, The Wedding of Reed and Sue. This is the big wedding between Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Girl. And all of Marveldom attended that. All the different superheroes were involved in that one. I had Amazing Spider-Man #35, which I purchased at a 7-Eleven, along with an Icy and a Butterfinger. And it, of course, is the first appearance, I think, of Molten Man. Then I remember having the first appearance of Silver Age appearance of Scarecrow, the Batman issue that had Scarecrow in it. Later, I had a Detective Comics. The main thing I remember about it were footprints going across the cover. Then, in early 1968, I had a Spectre comic, and I think the art's, some of it at least, by Neil Adams, and a lot of it internally was by Neil Adams, and it features a young boy who is somehow projecting his anger and his rage into some sort of being that is causing destruction on the earth, and somehow the Spectre negates all of this. And I remember at the end of the story, the Spectre is holding this young boy in his arms, and the young boy is looking up, smiling at him, and the Spectre is smiling down at the young kid. I loved Warren Publications. Eerie #3, Frazetta cover, of course. Eerie #4, Gray Morrow cover. Those had fabulous stories, and I've done a separate video that's here on YouTube about those Eerie #3 and #4 issues. I loved the Weird magazine, black and white. These were big black and white issues, by the way, both Warren and Weird. Now, Weird was made by a company called Eerie Publications, but no connection to the other title, Eerie. And they had a strange numbering system on there, so I'm not even going to try to do that, but I'll do dates. Weird of January 1966, with the giant Frankenstein figure on the cover. That had wonderful stories in it. The Weird of January 1966 had Terror of Akbar, Stranger in the Night, of course, Deadly Pickup about a vampire, whereas Eyes of Akbar was about a mummy. Both of those were terrific. And then what I'm going to call Weird #2 followed a little later in 66. Had on it Dracula on the cover, of some type vampire, and also a werewolf, and things in there that I remember. There was a giant spider woman in there called Web of the Widow was the name of that story. Then the Weird of December 1966, and one of the most memorable stories in the Weird of December 1966 is a story called Fatal Scalpel. I remember having the Lois Lane annual, which has her on a broom dressed as a witch and there on the cover. Then, of course, there was a fabulous Batman cover somewhere in that time period as well that featured Batgirl on it. And, of course, Batgirl had made her debut on the TV show on ABC, Batman, and so that was popular at the time. I was also a big Doom Patrol fan. I owned a lot of Doom Patrols, and I reproduced one of the covers here of one of the Doom Patrols that I owned. And for whatever reason, DC killed off the original Doom Patrol, I think in 1969, and it was about a decade later before they revived the Doom Patrol. So those are my memories of my favorite comic books as a kid. This has been Rich Vernadeau. Thank you very much.